Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Marketplace Reviews. We are starting with The Abandoned House by Izomika, which depicts a kind of old style house. I don't know the style itself, maybe from the one of the Soviet Union countries. I'm not sure about that. It's part of the abandoned village that haven't been released yet, but it will release part by part. And this, I think, is the first part. It usually goes for $55. The download size is about 1.32 gigabytes, which I mean, considering how many meshes there is, I mean, that's really low. Here's the showcase, not the the level showcase, but the showcase of the assets themselves. You can see, unfortunately, when you get too close, it kind of gets blurry. Textures get blurry, and that's one of the reasons why it's low side, because there are a few 4K textures, most of them are 2K. They usually get blurry after about 30 to 40 centimeters. By the way, that sewing machine is missing the belt. You can see that thankfully the functional parts have been separated, and that's one of the issues I have with most of the assets. And unfortunately, some like these bags and luggages are not separated, but still most of it are separated. And like I said, it's one of the issues I have with most of the other marketplace assets. If you want to build interactive one, then there is issue because it's not separated, unlike this asset. You can see the table covers, and unfortunately their static meshes are not cloth simulated. You can see the roof tile going back into the we got the closets, like the ocean, what is it called? I'm not sure about that. We got the carpets and some of these small assets like vase, and I don't know what is called in English, the one that you put these. The curtains are just normal static meshes, but with opacity mask. Most of the assets use mask blend mode. Here the vacuum cleaner has separated parts. The television, yeah, the functional parts are not separated for it, but it looks really nice, well made. But like I said, unfortunately, like most of the texture size is 2K, so I wish, and there is some problem with the sharing of the texture that I'm gonna talk about. Got the somehow rusted bicycle, and for, yeah, I mean, the chain is not rendered, although it does take a material instance for the chain, for the pre-built one. You can see like the coating on the wood, really nice. These are the blueprints of the assembled pieces, and you can actually convert that to static mesh if you don't want interactive and you want to save material. I mean, draw codes and stuff. You can merge them uh, and like delete all the other material slots and just use one, because the functional parts do share the same texture. The herbs use two-sided foliage shading model. These are like kind of broken glasses and glass tiles. Got the window frames, and the house frame behind it. I mean, it has lots of static meshes, and as you saw before, most of it are built and I mean separated, and some of them are assembled. So you have the option of using either, depending on your use case. These are like the walls, but like all the other things, these are masked, and not like real geometry separated. not that one, but yeah, these ones. As you can see, the walls are really nice, and actually all the things about these assets, all of them in my opinion are really nice. It's a shame that the 4K texture is not provided for most of it. I mean, if you want the high fidelity VR, you might want to look elsewhere, but other than that, as long as you are within 30 to 40 centimeters from away from most of the assets, this is really beautiful asset pack. We got like the furnace or stove. The problem is that it's not rendered on the sides, which is a shame. We're going to go into the lighting mode to see the meshes, but oh, what is this? Even though it's lighting only, it does, the normals still do show. And let's go into the why it is. This is the nanite buffer, and that's the reason. These are nanite meshes, and they come without any LOD, so you have to disable nanite. I think it's a bug in the engine to view the lighting only view mode for meshes to not use normal maps in this view mode. As you can see, the details of the meshes plus the lighting, of course, but you can see the actual geometries on the meshes themselves. Yeah, changing between the detail lighting, you can see that how much the normal maps make difference. So that's out of the way. Even though it's kind of made for like nanite and stuff. By the way, these are the blueprints of the assembled pieces. Just wanted to show it. And even the texture, as you can see, is 172, and the 4K ones are only like 9 4K textures. But for 2Ks there are 135, so most of it are 2K, 14 of them are 1K, and 512 a couple of them. But the problem is with this, some of these assets, and actually most of them, do share the same texture. So they were UV'd in that they share. I mean, normally it's not problem for parts that share the same detail and be like, you can save texture because they use the same part and stuff, but or they are like always fitted together in the same place. But some of them, I mean, I may not use some of these lamps, and I may only use one. And the problem with that is, for example, so I have a lamp at a different distance. Now, if I'm very close to the lamp, the entire 2K texture may be loaded into memory, and if it was UV'd differently and had its own separate one at even 1K, only 1K would have been loaded plus the MIP maps for the other ones, so which would have resulted in lower video card memory. For the things like the stove, because they all come in the same distance, almost the same distance, so there's no problem there. But for things like those lamps, I think it would have been better just to be each of them have their own 1K texture. Yeah, as you can see, the mesh number is like 431, but you can count that. It includes the assembled pieces as well. The vertices are like generally really low, even though it was like kind of made for nanite. I mean, the ones more than 20,000 vertices are only a handful, and the webs are only kind of like mid poly to high poly. But yeah, other than those, the others are really low. Considering that it's 400 something assets, you can see that almost like almost 400 of them are below 15,000. And you can actually see that 10,000, not even 15, which is kind of low. I preferred, since it was made for nanite, some of the other details would have been just being actual geometry. And in some places opacity mask is used. Now, one of the problems with some of the meshes that use more than two materials, like this bicycle, the chain is not rendered, although the material slot uh, does exist and does incur the draw call cost, and that goes for the other bicycle parts as well. You can see the curtains. There's some parts. Personally, I wouldn't like it to be this much, but I think there are other. There could be other parts that are only one material, and this is one of the problem. The, I mean, not that lamp. There is another lamp that only one of them did take place, uh, and it wasn't using anything material slot without actually doing anything. And these are the master materials. The first one is for opacity. As you can see, it's really large, really complex. The second one was for the foliage. I'm going to show the difference in the material instances. You can see the brightness changing, and color tone, and the contrast. I think the contrast is desaturation. Basically, if you set it to 1, it will desaturate it all to desaturate the color, and then you can use the tint. We have the AO power, and talking about textures themselves, we have the it's packed. We got ambient occlusion in red, roughness in green, and metallic in blue. One thing is that some of the metallic values are more than 1 or metallic should be 1 or 0, but in that case it wasn't. Anyways, here are the showcase that some of the materials use opacity mask. I would have preferred it to be actual geometry. There are lots of stuff there. I don't know what to talk about. Like, it's so much. Some of it, even though I was working on it, did not work. We got tiling options, mask options. We got dirt, although I couldn't get the dirt to work. The mask, somehow I got it to work. We got two-sided. UV mask opacity stuff, and a vertex color options. Here's the mouse. I think the one I got to work most was the color. Other than that, like the tint of the mouse. Other than that, the other ones did not make much difference. I mean, top tint. There's lots of parameters to tinker around. That could work for snow or something. I don't know what this height does. Let's go into the vertex mesh paint to change the vertex color. Or maybe, yeah. So this one, let's change it per channel. For red, oh wait, this is, let's change textures. You see, oh, I put it in the erase color. That's why it wasn't working before. But even so, it's a shame. Erase color is not working. I mean, some of the channels work, like the green, but not the other channels. Very strange. And the green one doesn't even work as expected. Looking at the collisions, you can see that um, there I don't know how to describe them. And some of them are okay, and other ones are not because it's auto-generated collision. So it's a hit or miss. You might want to reduce some of the collisions, depending on your use case, of course. This is the overview, like the true showcase the map. Now, because lumen and for interior, you have to use the exposure compensation on the post process. Normally, it comes with like value of 7, but I think it should be increased a little bit. You can see the interior. Actually, I'm not like playing it. That's why just like going through the viewport here and there. You can see that some of the parts are not lit well, even with that, even with the compensation, unless you like rotate the uh, the sunlight, directional light, then you get nice. But when you do it, the other rooms will have like low amount of light. And if we got like the attic, we have to like enable the lighting for each side to direct directional light to each side of the window to look at what's there. Really nice, in my opinion. Really makes for. I mean, I really like the style. I doubt there is much thing like this kind of. Like I said, I think it's like one of the Soviet Union style, like the old ones. It's kind of hard to come by assets of such quality. So yeah, in my opinion, it's really great. One thing I forgot to mention is that some of the textures, basic color textures, do come with a alpha channel for, I think it's for opacity, as an opacity mask. But the problem is with that is with the size. You can see that with the alpha, it's like 5 megabytes and half. When you do it without alpha compress it gets to half the size because when you enable the alpha channel, basically is not compressed. That's why. So I would have wished for different approach for the opacity mask. I know it may be it's like a balance between sampling like the texture sampler cost and the texture compression cost, but still there are already too much texture samplers in the material. So another I doubt would have made that much difference. So in my opinion, it's really great asset pack. You get tons of meshes. Uh, in my opinion, are really high quality as long as you are like 30 to 40 centimeters away from them. Because any closer and you can see the detail and the blurriness of the texture, like detail breaking up and the texture become blurry. I wish that at least the 4K textures would have been supplied, and that problem might have been mitigated a bit because they're really well textured by themselves. Like the texturing is really amazing work. Too bad, like some of the for the lamps and stuff, that they share the same texture. But for things like the stuff on the parts that like the closets, the doors and the closet themselves, the body of the closet sharing, there's no problem at all because they're usually uh, like put together. So that's it. Peace out.